Last summer, I covered a music festival as a freelance photographer. I was excited. The park was beautiful, full of trees and fields. I loved the energy, the laughter, food trucks, and the buzz of creativity. But three odd incidents left me puzzled. On the first night, I wandered near the water. I snapped photos of the stage and the crowd. Everything felt so alive. When I noticed her, a girl in a white dress, standing at the water's edge, staring into the lake. It was strange. Why was she alone? I walked closer, feeling a mix of curiosity and anxiety. Then, without warning, she vanished. One moment she was there and the next she was gone. A chill ran down my spine. I looked around but didn't see anyone. I brushed it off as my imagination. Maybe I was working too hard. The next few nights, I kept seeing odd things. One evening, I stood near a stage when I overheard a band talking among themselves. They mentioned a lost soul. My heart dropped. Were they talking about her? My feelings shifted from excitement to unease. Each time I raised my camera, I felt her absence. I kept searching for her in the crowd, half hoping I'd see that white dress again. Then, on the third night, I saw her again. She was deeper in the trees, camera in hand. It looked damp, as if she had taken it in the water. I wanted to approach her, but something held me back. I felt that familiar chill creeping in. What would I even say? Why do you keep disappearing? My throat tightened, and the words never came out. I stood frozen for a moment, my pulse quickening. Around me, people chatted and danced, unaware of the strange girl in the woods. I glanced back to the trees, but she was gone again, just like before. Shadows flickered in the fading light. I felt more confused and scared. How could no one else see her? I tried to shake it off, but anxiety gnawed at my insides. The festival continued, thickening with chatter, but I felt lost. I didn't know whether to find her or forget her. The last night of the festival was buzzing with excitement. The music blared, and the atmosphere pulsed with life. I darted between crowds, scanning faces, searching for her. My heart raced. I couldn't shake off this feeling of dread. I wanted to see her one last time, but no sign. She was gone, almost as if the lake had pulled her in. Just when I felt like giving up, I heard a strange whisper behind me. "Why do you want to find her?" I spun around, my breath caught in my throat. Nobody was there. The laughter and music felt distant now, swallowed by my confusion. I never saw the girl again. I've tried to forget, but those three odd incidents still puzzle me. What happened that summer at that music festival? I can't shake the feeling something isn't right. The weeks following the festival dragged on. I tried to immerse myself in other projects, to shake off the unease that clung to me like a shadow. But no matter how hard I tried, the memories haunted me. I wasn't just troubled. I was obsessed. I started digging through my photos from that weekend, hoping to find something I'd missed. I found countless pictures of smiling faces, stunning sunsets, and energetic performances. But every time I flicked through, I kept looking for her. Each shot felt incomplete without that white dress standing by the water. Then one afternoon, while editing, I stumbled across something unexpected. In one of the photos, a figure appeared near the lake in the background. I squinted at the image, heart racing. It wasn't fully clear, but the outline looked familiar. I zoomed in, and there she was. The girl in the white dress, her hair floated like wisps of fog around her face. I could see part of the lake glinting behind her, untouched by the sun. Was this proof she existed? My excitement quickly morphed into dread. I had captured her, a moment frozen in time. But now I felt a deep, unsettling chill. The realization hit me like a brick. If this girl was a lost soul, what did it mean for me? As I continued to stare at the image, an unease washed over me. I needed to know more. So I started asking around. I talked to the sound engineers, food vendors, and other photographers. Most dismissed my questions, chalking it up to festival folklore. But one elderly woman working a booth paused when I mentioned the girl. "You mean the one who haunts the waters?" she asked, her eyes growing narrow. My breath caught in my throat. "She's been wandering those woods long before this festival," the woman continued, her voice low. They say she's searching for something that was taken from her. What was taken? I asked, feeling a mixture of fear and intrigue. The lake swallowed her love, she replied, her tone heavy with melancholy. Now she waits. If she finds him, she can finally rest. My heart raced at the thought. Had I stumbled onto a ghost story? I felt my own longing grow with each word. What if the girl was reaching out? A fragment of me hoped to free her. But what did that mean for me? The thrill of my findings came at a price. With newfound determination, I gathered my camera gear. I needed to confront the lake. I couldn't just walk away. I had to see if the whispers were true. If there was something otherworldly lingering in those trees, I was going to find out what it was. As I approached the park again, the air grew dense with tension. Night was falling fast, and shadows loomed larger. I stepped forward and heard a rustle in the bushes. Hello? My voice cracked. Silence. Then, I noticed something gleaming in the grass, a small silver locket. That S when I saw it. A figure standing at the water's edge. Could it be her? I froze. The moment felt electric, and I couldn't tell if I was scared or entranced. I raised my camera, adrenaline surging through me. But before I could take a picture, the world around me began to fade. The music of the festival felt far away, as if the lake was pulling me under. I couldn't tell how long I stood there, anchored to the ground, unable to move or breathe. The shimmering surface of the lake blurred, and the figure in white took a step closer. My heart pounded in my chest. Was this really happening? I blinked rapidly, hoping to shake off the strange sensation wrapping around me like a fog. The surroundings became more distorted, muted colors swirling together as if I had been thrust into an impressionist painting. Not just the lake, everything shifted, the world thinning around me. Wait, I managed to shout, my voice cracking. The girl stopped, her head tilting slightly as though she could hear me. Her eyes, wide and searching, locked onto mine. I lifted my camera again, desperate to capture this moment. But the instant I pressed the button, everything went dark. I gasped as light invaded my vision again. I was no longer by the lake. Instead, I stood in a small, dimly lit room filled with antique furniture and dust motes dancing through the air. The place felt familiar yet foreign. A chill ran down my spine as I scanned the walls, adorned with curious old photographs and forgotten relics. What was this place? How did I get here? I turned to the door only to find it locked tight. Panic bubbled in my throat. This wasn't what I had come for. My thoughts raced to the girl. Was she still at the lake? I pulled out my phone, the one source of light I had, and checked for a signal. No bars. Great. Just when I thought I could find a way out, a knock echoed from behind me. I turned, heart in my throat. Hello? The voice emanated from the shadows, soft yet chilling. Is someone there? My breath quickened. I didn't want to answer, but I felt compelled to. Why yes, I stammered. I'm here. The door creaked open slowly, revealing an older woman with wispy white hair and deep-set eyes that seemed to pierce through me. You shouldn't be here, she said, shaking her head. Not now. Where am I? I asked, trying to sound composed, but the tremor in my voice betrayed my fear. This is her place, the woman said, her gaze shifting past me as if she could see something I couldn't. She waits for him here while the world keeps moving on. Who? The girl in the white dress. I struggled to control my voice, clenching my fists. I need to find her. She needs help. The woman's expression changed, the lines on her face deepening. You don't understand. It is not just about finding her. You might be too late. A chill gripped my spine, and my mind raced. What did she mean? Was I truly too late to save the girl? I felt a pull toward the door, the urgency driving me forward. But before I could move, the room began to shake, the shadows deepening. The woman's face was solemn. You must leave. Quickly. I turned and bolted, pounding on the door until it burst open. I stumbled through it, the air shifting like the tide. Suddenly, I found myself back at the lakeside, but not alone. I felt her presence before I saw her, cold and haunting, as she stood just beyond the water's edge. "Help me," she whispered, her voice as delicate as a breeze. I hesitated, the weight of her plea sinking in. This was it. I had to choose. Either flee from this haunting truth or step closer into the unknown. The night loomed heavy with dread and possibility, and I knew I could never go back. That was the moment everything changed. The moonlight shimmered on the lake, casting an eerie glow around the girl. My feet felt heavy, the weight of her plea gripping me like a vice. I wanted to turn away, to run, but I already knew that wasn't possible. I took a cautious step forward instead. "What do you need?" I asked, my voice barely rising above the whisper of the wind. Her gaze never left mine. "I'm trapped," she said, and the word hung in the air like a fragile crystal suspended in time. "You have to make them see me." A stun of confusion hit me like a wave. Who do I need to make see you?" She pointed toward the trees that bordered the lake, shadows swirling where light dared not tread. "The ones who come in the dark. They hold the answers." Something in my gut twisted. I remembered the woman's words about the world moving on. I had no clue what could emerge from those shadows. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but I couldn't back down now. I took a deep breath and stepped closer to the water's edge. The cold air whipped around me, filled with a strange energy. "What do they want? What do you need me to do?" The girl looked down, her outline starting to flicker, like a candle in a draft. "Confront them. Remember your camera. It will reveal what's hidden." Reveal? My heart raced as I realized I needed to take a photo. Maybe it would capture her essence and make others see. Okay, I can do that. But just as I raised my camera, the surroundings started to wobble again. A low rumble rolled through the ground, making me stumble. The girl's eyes widened, her expression shifting from calm to desperate. "Hurry! There's no time." Before I could react, dark shapes began to emerge from the trees. At first, they were indistinct figures, shifting and shuddering. Then voices filled the air, low and guttural, mingling with the sounds of the night. Panic set in as I aimed my camera at them. "What do you want?" I shouted, my hands trembling. The figures stopped, their glowing eyes locking onto me, and they began to chant in a language I couldn't understand. The air thickened, and as the moonlight flickered, so did the shadows. I pressed the button on my camera, the flash illuminating the darkness for a brief moment. What I saw through the lens made my stomach drop. Instead of the figures, the image revealed distorted faces, angry and hungry, twisting in agony. I let out a gasp, lowering the camera in shock. "Why are you trapped?" I shouted over the rising noise as my heart thudded in my ears. "You have to release me." The girl screamed, struggling against a force I couldn't see. "Show them." All at once, the shadows lunged forward, and I felt an instinctual urge to run. Without thinking, I backed away from the water, the girl's figure flickering more than ever. I was losing her. But when I saw it through the trees, a faint light pulsed, illuminating a small path that hadn't been there before. My heart raced. I had to reach it. "Find me," she called, her voice echoing, fading into the dark. With the threat chasing me, I sprinted toward the light, leaving the cries of the shadows behind. I didn't know what awaited me down that path, but one thing was clear. I couldn't let her be lost forever. The path was narrow, wrapped in darkness, but the pulsing light ahead pushed me forward. Felt like a beacon promising safety and answers. My breaths came quick, and with each step, I kept glancing back to see if the shadowy figures were following. Their chants still echoed in my ears, mixing with the girl's desperate call. "Find me!" I burst through the underbrush onto a small clearing. The light intensified, casting a warm glow around me. In the center stood a small stone pedestal, weathered and ancient. Resting atop it was a mirror. Unlike anything I had ever seen, it shimmered even in the dim of the night, as though alive. Heart racing, I approached the mirror, tension sparking all around me. I picked up my camera, taking a moment to steady my trembling hands. I could still feel the girl's presence lingering in the air, urging me to act. I needed to show her to them. But how? "Are you still there?" I called. half hoping for a reply. A silent moment met my question, but then the image in the mirror shifted. Suddenly, the surface rippled like water, revealing glimpses of the girl trapped in a dark room. Her face pressed against the glass, pleading for escape. I dropped my camera, my heart sinking. It wasn't just her that was trapped. It felt like the weight of everything haunted this place too. I took a step closer to the mirror. What do? I whispered. Without warning, a shadow flickered at the edge of my vision. I spun around, my pulse thrumming in my throat. The darkness was swirling again, but this time it carried a new form. It was larger, defined, a figure made of shadow and whispers. "You shouldn't be here," it snarled, the words dripping with malice. I took a step back, fear flooding through me. "I need to help her," I shouted, my voice rising in panic. "That girl is a lost fragment," the figure hissed, its eyes glowing unnaturally. "You cannot intervene where you do not belong." Before I could respond, the figure lunged, shadows stretching toward me like claws. I scrambled back, adrenaline fueling my flight. I needed to think fast. Memories of the girl's words flooded my mind. The camera. With shaky hands, I grabbed it and aimed at the figure, hoping it would reveal something more. My finger hovered over the shutter button, and the shadows recoiled, surprised at my boldness. "Make them see," I yelled, pressing the shutter, the flash illuminating the clearing. The light burst forth, breaking through the darkness. For a moment, the figure was frozen in the glow, and in that instant, I glimpsed twisted faces writhing behind it, their mouthless screams echoing in my head. The shadows screamed primal and angry, ripping through the air. Then everything went dark. I blinked, struggling to orient myself. The mirror had shattered, its pieces scattered across the ground like fallen stars. The cool night air felt heavy, cradling the silence as I struggled to regain my footing. What just happened? Had I succeeded? Then, in the quiet, I heard a whisper. It was faint, barely audible above the rustling leaves. "Help me," I steadied myself and looked around. The threat still lurked nearby, but now there was something else, a puzzle waiting to be solved. I had to find a way, not just for her, but for those trapped in the shadows. The whisper echoed in my mind, drawing me back to the broken shards of the mirror. I knelt to pick up a piece, feeling the cool glass under my fingertips. It glimmered strangely in the moonlight, almost as if it still held some kind of memory. "Help me," the voice was clearer now, more insistent. My heart raced as I tried to trace its source. It felt like a tether, pulling me in different directions. I needed to decide, follow the sound, or run while I had the chance. I swallowed hard, scanning the clearing. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, gathering around me, but the light was different now. The oppressive darkness that earlier had felt so alive was retreating, just like the figure had. I stood up slowly, my instincts sharp. There had to be a way to connect that mirror to the girl. I fished the camera out of my pocket once again, half expecting it to fail me after the chaos. To my surprise, the screen flickered to life. A new image glowed softly, a loop of the girl's last anguished plea rotating in the frame. She looked desperate but also determined. "What did you see?" I asked, feeling foolish for talking to a screen. But something deep inside told me to listen. Her image flickered, and then I noticed something. She gestured toward the ground below the remnants of the mirror. "A makeshift altar?" I shook my head in disbelief. Had I missed something significant in my panic? Then the ground trembled, and a crack cut through the earth like a serpent. The shadows hissed in anger. I stepped back just as a series of dark tendrils shot up toward me, stretching and swirling aggressively. My instincts kicked in, and I aimed my camera at them, reminding myself of that brief moment of power the flash had given me. "You will not take her," I screamed, hoping my voice would command some authority over the encroaching shadows. I pressed the button, sending another burst of light into the chaos. The shadows screeched and recoiled, but this time, the light illuminated a clear path beside the shattered remains. It felt less like an escape and more like a doorway away towards understanding. My pulse quickened as I approached the glimmering path, my fear battling with the urgency to save the girl. This was no longer just an abstract hunt. I was becoming a part of whatever ancient conflict resided here. Taking a deep breath, I stepped towards the opening, determination swelling inside me. "I'm coming for you," I shouted, hoping she could hear me. I stepped over the shards of the mirror, feeling the ground shift beneath me. Just as I crossed the threshold, the shadows lunged again, roaring louder than before. With the last of my fear driven away, I pressed forward. Then everything changed. The world around me twisted, colors blurring into indistinct shapes, and I was weightless for a moment. Then I fell, not onto the ground but through a cascade of light. That when I saw it, a silhouette against the glow. The figure, the girl, or something else. My heart sank as I realized I was not done with the shadows. They were coming for me, dragging along the edges of the light. I had to act fast. I had to find her before I was one of them. The light enveloped me, and I felt a strange pull. Everything around me shimmered, flickering like an old film reel. I landed with a thud on a patch of grass, the bustling noise of the music festival now a distant memory. The air was heavier here, charged with something I couldn't quite name. As I stood, I scanned my surroundings. It was surreal. I could see remnants of the festival, the faint outlines of tents and strands of colorful lights flickering above. But everything felt off, muted. The laughter and music were just echoes, like whispers in the back of my mind. "Where are you?" I called, the silence swallowing my words. I felt small and lost. The silhouette had vanished, leaving nothing but an empty space where hope had just flickered brightly. I took a step forward, every nerve ending on high alert. It was then I sensed it movement from the corner of my eye. I turned quickly, expecting to see her, but instead faced a wall of fog that was rolling in. "Get back!" I shouted, my voice stronger than I felt. The fog coalesced, thickening until I could barely see my hands in front of my face. The shadows from before swirled just beyond, their shapes indistinct but foreboding. I moved towards the distant light, trying to keep my breathing steady. The camera was still clutched in my hand, a lifeline in this twisted reality. I took a photo into the fog, hoping to reveal something. A burst of light flared, illuminating the area just in time for me to catch a glimpse of her. There she was, a flash of recognition against the gray backdrop. But she looked different now. Her expression was no longer desperate. It was angry, almost fierce. She pointed toward something behind me. Fear trickled down my spine as I spun around. A massive shadow lunged at me, swirling and writhing. Panic struck like a bolt of lightning. I didn't hesitate. I lifted the camera, snapping another picture. The flash exploded like a firework, and for just a moment, the shadows scattered, revealing a dark figure cloaked in swirling darkness standing behind me. "Do you want to join us?" hissed, its voice more of a growl. I stumbled backward, feeling the cool grass beneath me, my heart pounding. "No!" I shouted, feeling the walls of terror closing in. I had to find her, to break whatever hold this thing had. But how? I turned back to the flickering light, hoping she would guide me. In that moment of desperation, I realized the truth. She wasn't just a victim. There was power in her anger. She was fighting back in her way, trying to warn me. Then it hit me. I didn't have to fight the shadows with light alone. I needed to harness what she had within her. I aimed the camera at the figure looming before me, ready to confront it. The shadows twisted again, a warning growl vibrating through the air. I had to act fast. But the only question that lingered in my mind was whether I had the strength to pull her back from whatever depths she was fighting against. Before I could think it through, I pressed the shutter again, praying that this time, I would find the answer in the light. I felt the electric pulse ripple through the ground as the flash erupted. For a split second, the looming figure flinched, the shadows darkening around it. Just as quickly, darkness reclaimed its form, but I could see the fear behind its menace. "Enough of this game," it snarled, and the chill in its voice sent a shiver straight down my spine. I had to make a choice. I couldn't turn back now. With another picture taken, I glimpsed her again, her eyes full of fire, her form flickering in and out of the haze. "You're stronger than you think," I yelled, more to myself than to her. "Fight with me." Suddenly, the fog parted briefly, revealing a path to the flickering light. I ran for it, adrenaline pushing me forward. My feet flew across the grass, and I didn't dare look back. I could hear the darkness thrumming with fury behind me, but I had to focus on her. I pressed the camera to my chest, feeling its warmth against the cold air. The light was closer now, vivid and almost tangible. I could make out more details. A shimmering wall of colors dancing together. As I approached, her image grew sharper, her fierce expression melding with determination. But then I saw it, a shadowy tendril stretching toward her, reaching through the light like a spider spinning its web. "No!" I shouted, horrified. I raised the camera again, but this time it felt different. I wasn't just taking a photo. I was capturing a moment, her moment, the spark of her anger and fight. The shutter clicked, a bright flash illuminated the scene, and in that instant, I saw them. The dark shadows that twisted around her were fading. She turned to me, her eyes wide and bright. "You can do this," she cried, her voice soaring over the din of chaos. My heart raced as the shadows began to waver. I snapped another picture, willing every ounce of power to her, pouring my own strength into the lens. Light surged out, battling against the darkness. The scene shifted. The weight of the air lightened, and I felt the balance shifting. But the figure roared back to life, even angrier now. "You think you can save her?" it bellowed, and the shadows surged forward like a tidal wave. I pressed the shutter one more time, sealing my resolve within the frame. As another flash erupted, I realized something crucial: the darkness was not invincible. If I could just hold my ground, I might draw out her power long enough to overwhelm it. Then everything changed. A deafening crack split the air, and the ground beneath me shuddered. I stumbled, my grip faltering on the camera. "No, no," I gasped, suddenly terrified that everything we had achieved was about to unravel. And then, just as the shadows began to envelop me again, I saw it, a tiny glimmer, something shifting within the blinding light. "Stay with me," I yelled, not just to her but to the light itself. I needed it to hold. But before I could unleash another photo, the shadows struck, pulling me back into their cold embrace. I felt panic rise again. Did I really have the strength to pull her back? And in that moment of despair, I realized the truth. I wasn't just fighting for her, she was fighting for me too. The room was spinning, and I had one last chance. The world around me shifted as the darkness tightened its grip, cold fingers pulling me deeper. I thrashed against it, the camera still clutched in my hand. It had to work. I couldn't let the shadows win. I closed my eyes and focused, visualizing the light breaking through. That glimmer I had seen before, it had to be more than just a trick of the mind. With a sudden rush of determination, I opened my eyes again. "You're not taking her," I shouted into the void, my voice trembling but resolute. I raised the camera one last time, my heart racing in tandem with the shutter button. I pressed down harder, focusing everything I felt: fear, hope, love, everything I had within me. The flash erupted, tearing through the gloom like a beacon. For a heartbeat, the shadows recoiled, revealing her once more. It was a fleeting glimpse, but strong enough to feel the connection again. The tides of chaos began to shift, and I saw that flicker in her eyes return. "Keep fighting," she yelled back, her voice stronger now, slicing through the shadows. But just as I thought we had gained the upper hand, the dark figure surged forward again, rage contorting its features. "You think this is over?" it snarled, an echo of dread reverberating off the walls. Its voice was a tempest, and I felt the quake run through me. "Screw you," I fired back, the boldness surprising me. I took another shot. The flash lit up the space around us, and I caught a glimpse of the shadows faltering, caught in the brightness. It wasn't just me fighting. She was pulling strength from this light, and somehow, it felt like we were entwined in a brilliant dance against despair. But as I steadied myself for another strike, something shifted. I looked closer. The shadows were growing denser, swirling together like a storm. I gasped as I realized what was happening. They were consolidating, gathering their power for one final strike. Run! I shouted at her instinctively, wrestling with my fear. But she only stood firm, looking at me with determination. No, she declared, and in that moment, the shadows gathered like a monstrous cloud. I could feel the weight of the darkness pressing down, threatening to crush us both. Then came another crack of thunder, this one louder and closer. The ground trembled as a bolt of energy shot from the edge of the light, connecting with the figure in the dark. I couldn't believe my eyes. Was it fighting against the darkness? A surge of clarity hit me then. If the light could strike back, I could do more than just capture images. I adjusted my focus, snapping picture after picture, lighting the ground beneath us. Each shot felt like planting seeds of resistance, igniting tiny flames of hope amidst the chaos. The shadows shrieked, clawing at the light that erupted around us, but I wouldn't let up. Then, just as the shadows surged once more, inching their way back to consume us, something unexpected happened. I noticed a girl in a flowing dress standing just beyond the edge of the light. My heart dropped. "Who are you?" I thought I could hear myself saying, but her lips were moving as if to answer a question I hadn't even asked. When I saw it, there was a familiar shape in her outstretched hand, glinting in the light. Camera. My breath hitched. How could she have that? The shadows were closing in, but I was frozen in place, questions boiling in my mind. "Who are you?" I repeated, but the answer was still out of reach. In an instant, the shadows surged, enveloping me in a cloak of darkness. I screamed, but no sound escaped as I felt myself being pulled away from that glimmer of light. Just as I thought surrender was inevitable, a different voice pierced through the gloom. "Trust yourself." It beckoned, familiar yet unfamiliar. I could feel warmth enveloping me, the stillness radiating from the figure with the camera. Forcing my eyes open, I saw her, the girl in the white dress, standing firm with her camera raised, a beacon defying the shadows. "You have the power," she reiterated, as if the words shifted something within me, awakening the strength I had forgotten. The darkness recoiled for a moment, hesitant. The shadows twisted in tumult, as if sensing the ground shifting beneath them. The air thickened with a charged energy, reminiscent of the fear mingled with hope. I tightened my grip on the camera, lifting it once more. "Now or never," I whispered to myself. The shadows lunged, trying to suffocate that flicker of courage, but with that whisper came a relentless surge of defiance. I raised the camera and unleashed a series of flashes, each illuminating the chaos swirling around us. Each click felt like a pulse of life, a bolt of electricity through the darkened void. Against the darkness, I noticed the girl, her silhouette growing stronger with each light I unleashed. From the depths of the shadows, it seemed that both she and I were coalescing, drawn together by that shimmering force. "What do I need to do?" I shouted over the rising tide of chaos. "How do I save you?" In a desperate gasp, she replied, "Show them who we are together." Her words ignited a fire within my heart, amplifying every flicker of determination. Understanding flooded me. I wasn't just capturing fleeting moments anymore. "We're not just here to fight. We're here to be seen," I yelled out. In that moment it became clear. The camera wasn't just a tool to reveal the hidden. It was our lifeline, a means to reclaim our stories from the grip of despair. I turned back to the encroaching shadows, ready to defy their pull. Deep breaths melded with the rhythm of my heart as I snapped another picture, feeling the resonance of truth and connectedness within the light. The moment captured was alive, vibrating with the essence of hope. And then it happened. The darkness shrieked, losing strength against the brilliance of our combined resolve. The air crackled with energy, the shadows slithering backward, panic in their furious hisses. "Keep going," she urged, her voice stronger than before. I could feel the energy around us pulsing in time with the clicks of my camera, each snap releasing fragments of what had been trapped within the shadows. The swirling figures twisted now, desperately trying to cling to their power, but the distance between us and the light was growing wider. "They can't hold us if we unite," I shouted, channeling every ounce of strength and intention into that final click. The camera flashed brightly, illuminating the entire clearing and shaking the very fabric of the shadows. They roared, blurring into wisps and tendrils of fear and anguish dissipating like smoke. The light expanded, and in its embrace, I could see the girl's face, her features clear and resolute. Just as the darkness shattered like glass underfoot, a roar erupted, a crescendo of liberation echoed through the night. Suddenly, silence enveloped the space. I blinked, eyes adjusting to the aftermath of light. I expected shadows to remain, but all that lingered was a hushed stillness over the lake, shimmering eerily under the moonlight's glow. Exhaling slowly, I lowered the camera, scanning the open space. Had we done it? The weight of doubt loomed, but something felt different. It was done. The shadows were retreating. The lake glinted like a mirror, reflecting stars that had gone unnoticed before. It was then that I felt a hand gripping my shoulder, tender and warm. I turned to find her standing beside me, a soft smile gracing her lips. "You did it," she said, the tremor of her voice lost in relief. I struggled for words. "I thought you were lost. Is it over?" Her eyes sparkled with gratitude. "For now. You helped me find my voice again." Yet, there was something elusive in her gaze, a depth that hinted at a lingering ambiguity. But the cycle doesn't truly end. With those words, my heart sank. Questions still lay at the fringes. The shadows had been banished, but at what cost? What really haunted this place? As if she read my thoughts, her brow furrowed gently. "Just remember, things often aren't as simple as they seem. I may fade, but my essence will always remain." And as the first light of dawn began to break, I felt an odd pull deep within, already knowing I would never fully understand all the threads at play. I glanced around the empty clearing, the echoes of the festival long gone, but the memories etched in my mind forever. "I'll remember," I whispered. As the sun peeked over the horizon, illuminating the surface of the lake, I understood that while the immediate danger had dissipated, the world continued to house questions. Who else lingered between shadows and light, and what truly dwelled in the depths of our own hearts? I moved away from the water, my heart heavy yet hopeful, treading that thin line between connectedness and uncertainty, forever changed by the echoes of the past and the whispers of the lost.